Hey there! Welcome to Legends of All Time. Today we're going to ancient Athens to meet a man who never wore a crown but ruled a city with the power of his voice. His name is Pericles, and people still call him the father of Athenian democracy. He turned a noisy, quarrelsome city into the brightest center of the Greek world. Picture Athens before him. A proud city, yes, but also unstable. Rich aristocrats pulled the blanket of power toward themselves. Ordinary citizens wanted a say, but didn't always know how to get it. Wars, rivalries, intrigues, a city full of talent, but also full of tension. Pericles stepped into this mess and decided Athens could be more than just another Greek city. It could be an example. Pericles was born into an important family. He had money, education, and a famous last name. He could have lived a quiet, comfortable life. Instead, he walked straight into politics. His main weapon was not soldiers, but words. In Athens, citizens met in a big public assembly and voted on laws, war, and peace. Pericles became the man whose speeches could move that entire crowd. He believed that power should not belong only to the rich. He wanted more citizens to take part in governing the city. To make that real, not just pretty talk, he pushed for reforms. One of the most important ideas was paying citizens for some public duties. If you got a small payment for serving on a jury or holding a public office, even a poor man could afford to participate. Democracy stopped being a game only for those who had time and money. Under Pericles, the assembly of citizens became the heart of Athens. Free male citizens could stand up, argue, and vote. Not everyone was equal. Women, slaves, and foreigners were left out. But for that time, the idea was radical. The city was not ruled by a king or a small council. It was ruled by debate. Pericles trusted that if you gave people space to think and speak, they could decide not only for themselves, but for the whole city. He wasn't just a talker. He was a planner. He looked at Athens and saw potential. He wanted it to be not only strong in war, but also beautiful in peace. So, he launched a giant building program. On the hill of the Acropolis, workers raised the Parthenon, a marble temple that still stuns people today. Sculptors, architects, craftsmen, all got to work. The city became a living advertisement for Greek art and style. At the same time, Athens grew rich through its naval power. It led a league of Greek city-states supposedly created to defend against enemies. Over time, this alliance turned into something closer to an Athenian empire. Allies paid tribute. Athens used part of that money for its fleet and part for its projects. To friends, the city looked like a leader. To enemies, like a bully. Pericles stood right in the center of this web of power. He knew that great power always comes with great risk. Other cities, especially Sparta, watched Athens with fear and envy. Two different worlds faced each other. Sparta with strict military discipline, Athens with loud debates and love of freedom. Under Pericles, this rivalry grew deeper and more dangerous, like a storm forming far away over the sea. One of the most famous moments in Pericles' life was a speech he gave during the early years of the Peloponnesian War. Athens had lost men and families were mourning. At the public funeral, he didn't talk only about death. He talked about what made Athens special, a city where people discussed ideas freely, where talent mattered more than birth, where citizens were ready to die for a way of life built on participation and pride. His words turned grief into determination. Pericles also had a personal life that broke some norms. He lived with Aspasia, a woman from another city, intelligent and sharp, who reportedly took part in conversations with philosophers and politicians. For conservative Athenians, this was shocking. For others, it showed another side of Pericles, a man attracted to clever minds and new ideas, not just to old traditions. But his time was not all glory. When war with Sparta finally exploded, Athens followed his strategy: avoid big land battles, hide behind the city walls, and use the powerful fleet to attack from the sea. On paper, it looked smart. In reality, the crowded city became a trap. A terrible plague swept through Athens. People died in the streets. Fear and chaos spread. Pericles himself caught the disease and died. His death was a turning point. Without his steady hand and calm authority, Athens started to spin out of control. Demagogues, loud, manipulative speakers rose up and pushed the crowd toward risky decisions. The war dragged on, Athens lost soldiers, allies, and finally the war itself. The city that had once shone like a star fell into crisis. Yet the idea he helped shape did not die. The memory of a city where citizens debated and voted lived on. Later thinkers, like the writers and philosophers of classical Greece, kept that memory alive. Much later, when people in other parts of the world started thinking about parliaments, elections, and rights, they looked back to Athens and to the age of Pericles. Today, when someone says democracy, the picture of Athens in the time of Pericles often appears in the background. Of course, his democracy had limits and blind spots. It excluded many, it sometimes abused its power. But the core principle that ordinary citizens should have a direct role in decisions was a huge leap for human history. Pericles himself is a mix of idealist and realist. He believed in the intelligence of the people, but he also knew how to guide them. He loved beauty and culture, but he was not afraid of war. He protected democracy, yet used empire to fund it. That's what makes him so interesting. He wasn't a saint. He was a skilled player in a very dangerous game. When you look at photos of the Parthenon today, half ruined but still proud, you're also looking at the legacy of Pericles. He wanted Athens to be remembered. He succeeded, not only in stone, but in the way people think about power, freedom, and public life. Every time citizens argue in a parliament, vote in an election, or protest in a square, there is a faint echo of that loud Athenian assembly he once led. So, when you hear Pericles, father of Athenian democracy, think of a man standing before thousands of citizens, speaking with such clarity that a city moved as one. Think of ships in the harbor, temples on the hill, and ideas in the air. A moment in history when one city dared to believe that its people, not a king, should rule. If this story about Pericles and the birth of Athenian democracy hooked you, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Legends of All Time, and check out other videos on our channel. There are many more powerful lives and turning points in history waiting for you.